All right. I was too busy jamming out during that little introduction there. Wow. Okay, we are live. We are really doing it. Awesome. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Hashnode Writing Bootcamp. I am your intrepid host, Sam Sycamore. And for those of you who don't know me, I am in charge of content strategy and marketing at Hashnode, which, if it's not clear from that title, the reason why I'm here is largely because of my writing skills. And I am so excited that I get to help all of you unlock similar opportunities for yourselves in your own career. The theme of our bootcamp is the art and business of technical writing. And we named it this way because we really wanted this event, or rather the series of events, to be more or less comprehensive, because if you want to succeed as a writer, or if you're just looking to improve your writing skills as a way to grow in your career, either way, it's going to require more than just the hard skills to get where you want to go, right? You should always be working on your writing skills, of course, but you also need to be intentional about developing a personal brand, networking with other professionals in your field, and actively seeking paid gigs and other opportunities to get yourself out there. So, for the next 2 weeks, we have invited some of our favorite writers and content creators in the tech community to step up to the stage and explain all of the above, essentially, how they do what they do and how you might be able to follow in their footsteps. But before we get too much deeper into the festivities, I must offer my sincere gratitude to our gracious sponsors who've helped make this whole thing possible. Vercel is a platform for static sites and front-end frameworks built to integrate with your headless content, commerce, or database. They provide a frictionless developer experience to take care of the hard things, deploy instantly, scale automatically, and serve personalized content around the globe. That is Vercel. TakeShape is the API mesh for the Jamstack. Use TakeShape to configure a hosted GraphQL API that combines all of your services into a single endpoint. Increase your productivity and reduce your stack's complexity to ship new functionality faster. And last but certainly not least, we've got Auth0, which you all probably know from the hackathon last month. Auth0 is an easy to implement adaptable authentication and authorization platform optimized for user experience and privacy. Use social login integrations, lower user friction, incorporate rich user profiling, and facilitate more transactions. That is Auth0. All three of these products are absolutely top shelf, cream of the crop. I guess maybe I'm mixing metaphors there, but you get what I'm saying. I've used all three myself, and I would highly recommend them all. So yeah, shout out to our amazing sponsors for helping us out. One thing I want to highlight here at the start of the bootcamp is we really don't want this to be a one-way street. You know what I mean? I don't want this to be just us talking at you for the next 2 weeks. We want to give you plenty of opportunities to work on your writing, to reflect on what you're learning, connect with other participants in the bootcamp, and hopefully to get some feedback along the way. So at the end of each talk, we're going to try to make time to open the floor for questions from the audience, which we can do via chat or Q&A. There's the Q&A tab up there, which is probably a little more tidy. And we're also going to leave you with writing prompts following each talk to help reinforce some of the key themes and give you some opportunities to write. Whenever you're publishing new articles related to the bootcamp, be sure to use the hashtag Hashnode Bootcamp. You can use that on Hashnode as well as anywhere you happen to share on social media. We will be monitoring those hashtags for the next couple of weeks, and we'll do our best to offer feedback. But please keep in mind that we are a very small company, and there are a lot of you signed up. As for today, coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to have a talk from Edigyong Asikpo about how to get started as a technical writer. But before we get there, we've got an extra special treat. This is, we weren't sure if it was going to happen. but it looks like it is really, truly real life. Um, Starting here at the top, we're going to be joined by the one and only Quincy Larson of Free Code Camp. I suspect that for this audience, our man Quincy needs no introduction. But if you've somehow never heard of him or Free Code Camp before, I think you're going to be in for a real treat. We should probably give him a couple more minutes to make his way over here. Please excuse any goofy technical difficulties that arise along the way. We're definitely still figuring this whole thing out as we go. I have no clue what I'm doing on my end, so hopefully this is working. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with Free Code Camp, what are you doing? I actually, incredibly, I started on Free Code Camp 1 year ago today, basically. I could not have planned that better if I tried. Granted, I'm the one who planned this thing, but I didn't realize it fell on the 1 year anniversary of my learning to code journey. So yeah, it's really quite incredible to be here now, and yeah, really see how far I have come. So yeah, we're gonna have Quincy up here momentarily, just as soon as he gets backstage, and I am going to pick his brain a bit about technical writing. Um, cool. Wow. Yeah, I see the chat is really going off. It's so awesome to see everybody. Lots of familiar faces. I see Michael, David, Avnish, Janine, Sarah. Wow, so many awesome people. All right, looks like our man Quincy Larson is here. Hello, Quincy.
Hey, how's it going, Sam? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, it sounds great. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. Hey,
Excellent, we
everybody.
did it.
Welcome. Thanks for your patience. I was just running a team meeting and I jumped out, and so yeah, I hope I'm not too late.
No, you're right on time. Thank you so much. This is such a treat.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for your kind tweets as well. I'm thrilled that you're thrilled to be talking about technical writing here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll let you take it away. I don't know. I haven't been watching the stream. If I could introduce myself.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. So I'm Quincy. I'm a teacher at Free Code Camp. I started Free Code Camp back in 2014, and I just wanted to help other people learn to code in a way that was, relatively unambiguous and not riddled with, self-doubt and loneliness and all those things that I experienced when I was learning to code as a 30-year-old teacher who was trying to do this and wasn't even sure if it was possible. But now I think there's plenty of evidence that it is possible. If you're somebody out there, I think a lot of you already know how to code, but you absolutely can do it. Like it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what point you're starting from in terms of math or computer science skills. If you want to put in the time and energy, and you can make time day after day to just put in a little bit of time, I think you can get really good at leveraging technology, getting things done with computers.
Absolutely. I was very skeptical 1 year ago when I ventured down this path, but I am here to say that it is indeed possible. So I can confirm that. And yeah, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for this community. It's a big reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
From what I understand about Free Code Camp, a big part of how you grew the site was through your technical articles. So can you elaborate on how writing was a part of your strategy for marketing Free Code Camp? And how did you get the word out about your articles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll just give you like a very high level history of like me as a technical writer. I already had a lot of experience writing. I studied liberal arts in university, so I wrote lots of like essays and I even wrote a few books and things like that. That like none, back in the day you couldn't publish these things. This was like around 2000. I guess I could have just thrown it up on the web. Like there wasn't Twitter. Weren't like a lot of ways to distribute. And it wasn't very good anyway. One of the pieces of advice like a writer gave me is like throw away your first million words. And I always thought like, oh man, is it really that like hard to get good at writing? But I think at this point I've probably written more than a million words. I've published a lot of articles, like around 500 technical articles over the past 7 years. And these days I'm mostly focused on like administering Free Code Camp, the nonprofit, and making sure that we bring on like really good developers and teachers. And also like I still write occasionally, like if I encounter some, like one of my most popular articles, I was just building like a Windows PC, and I didn't have a way to bootstrap like Windows 10 on a thumb drive, so I had to learn how to do that on my Mac. And then when I was doing it, I was like, well, maybe I should write about this just in case somebody else. And like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people read that article each month. So you never know. But yeah, that's like, I spent a lot of time on Quora answering questions, and I found that was really good because people would ask a lot of questions about like learning to code, and that was something I felt personally qualified to write about. So I did write a lot of articles with advice on how to learn to code.
Right on. Very cool. That's amazing that you've written over 500 articles at this point. That's quite a feat. So, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I mentioned this at the very top of my introduction here before anybody got here, but I suspect that people don't necessarily believe me when I say that good writing can lead to great job opportunities in tech. I'm biased because that's what happened to me with Hashnode, but would you agree that technical writing can be a stepping stone to bigger and better career opportunities in tech? And if so, because I think I know what you're going to say, how have you observed that in action over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it time and time again. People who have gotten, an internship or a job or clients based on their writing. People who've even gotten into like grad programs, things like that, based on their writing. Which, getting into like a PhD program can be pretty challenging in some cases, and being able to point to like a lot of thinking about it can help you with that. So I think like specific, I don't know, there's so many instances. I think many of the prolific people, like on Free Code Camp's publication, for example, have managed to get really good jobs as a result. It's a very common way to like become like a developer evangelist or advocate, whatever the term is. Basically like a teacher who codes, who can teach other people how to use tools, essentially. And writing is the most foundational skill as far as communicating, and you can parlay that into creating courses, like full-length courses on like Teachable, for example, or through like Front-End Masters or Egghead or some of these course platforms. You can also parlay that into just creating like a bunch of YouTube resources or creating like books. You could get a job as like a contract. I'm not sure if it's going to pay the same amount as like a software engineering job, but you can get job like O'Reilly, Manning, PackPub, like all these publications. If you happen to be the person who has the best grasp of GraphQL because you like started using it when it first came out and you've used it on a number of projects, you could be the definitive author of like the book that everybody finds when they search, GraphQL on like Amazon or something, right? Like you could do that. There aren't really any gatekeepers is the thing. the pie, so to speak, is expanding so quickly that nobody's like squabbling over trying to get a larger slice of the pie. They're just trying to get pie. So there you have like kind of an abundance economy within the developer space and developer education space. So the way I look at it, there's very little. I mean, the number of people who actually will take this advice and go out and write, you would think, oh, I'm competing against hundreds of thousands. Anybody who has a computer is potentially competing with me. Well, a lot of those people are just, goofing off online, and they're not like sitting down and doing research and writing thoughtful, well-written articles. And they're not practicing their craft, and they're not attending, writing boot camps. they're not reading good books about writing. They're thinking, oh, I know how to write. Everybody knows how to write. You just type and you're done. Writing is very much like a skill that, I'm not done learning. I'm going to continue to hopefully asymptotically approach, like that, like level of like a really, really good technical writer over time. But if you want to read some great technology writing, I've got lots of examples of like journalists who I think have done a good job of like learning about programming technology. Engineers who have learned to get really good at writing. Bruce Schneier is a great example, the security researcher who writes he writes best-selling, New York Times bestseller books about cryptography and stuff like that. And he's an engineer, right? But he got good at writing and good at communicating. So anyway, to belabor the point, writing is a skill. It's just like any other skill. You get better at it through practice.
Right on. And yeah, I love that point about how, there really aren't any gatekeepers in this realm, and there's room for everybody. It's when it comes to technical writing, I feel like it is surprisingly easy to get your foot in the door and get your name out there, because yeah, like you said, a lot of people like the idea of being a writer, but not many people are gonna put in the work to really stand out. And so there's room for everybody. I love that. So let me ask you this: do you have any advice for someone who is interested in writing, but they feel like they don't necessarily have anything to say or contribute? Like, I'm not a GraphQL expert. I didn't start using that, right on day one. So like, what could I contribute? Do I have to be an expert to write about any given tech topic?
Yeah, your lack of expertise is probably an asset in some respects, because you have what's called the beginner's mindset, and you can empathize with people who are reading your articles. Right? Like if you're writing about like Java Enterprise Edition and you've been a Java engineer for like 20 years or something, the way you're going to write about that is very different from how university like student or somebody who is just switching careers and learning to code for the first time is like, oh, okay, I want to learn Java Enterprise Edition. Like you're going to approach it totally differently, and you're probably going to approach it much more similarly how other people would approach it, and you'll be able to explain it in ways like, oh, so it's basically like you're turning back and you're kind of like relaying things just a few hundred feet back down the trail to somebody who's following you. Hey, look out, there's a big pothole there. Don't drive your wagon there, Oh, there are bears ahead. Get your rifle ready, stuff. I don't know. I always use like these pioneer metaphors. We got this beautiful like mountain landscape behind us. I think the beginner's mindset is an asset. And the thing is, there's just this giant long tail. So actionable advice, okay, that's what you're looking for, not me to wax poetically. So if you go on Google and you just start typing something, and autocomplete is gonna like what are people searching for, right? You type GraphQL tutorial, GraphQL with Vue. Oh, with Vue. Has anybody written about GraphQL with Vue? Probably, but maybe I can do a better job, right? You go on Quora, you go on Reddit, and just dig deep into like I do site:/reddit.com and then type GraphQL Vue.js. See what issues people are having. what kind of conceptual blocks are people encountering that are stopping them from grokking how this thing works. And then, of course, just you as a person who is writing, learning the code, learning different technologies. As a developer, your job is really more about learning than it is about anything else. As you encounter things that you're learning, just write about them. It's one of the reasons that I like Hashnode so much is it just reduces the friction dramatically to where, you can just crack open, you can take some code snippet, you can just throw it into the editor and you can structure an article around it.
Yeah, I love that bit of advice about just write about whatever you happen to be learning about at any given time. That's definitely the approach that I have taken since I ventured out into the tech world. And yeah, what I found when I started applying for jobs back in the springtime, nobody was really very interested in talking about any of my actual coding projects because they weren't that good. I'm still new to coding, but my blog post would come up in every interview that I would do. And it was literally just, this is the stuff I've been learning. This is, hey, I just learned about what the Jamstack is last month. So I wrote a blog post about it. And that was the stuff that employers actually wanted to hear about because it was a way that I could demonstrate my actual knowledge beyond just, code on the screen. Yeah, I love that. I love that approach. Let's say, okay, so I've got some good ideas for blog posts. I feel like I'm writing pretty solid content overall, but what if I'm having trouble gaining traction with my posts? It seems like people just aren't noticing them. What would you advise someone like me in this situation to do to improve the packaging, if you will, of an article so people will actually want to read it?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are several approaches you can go. You can focus on the specific topic and try to write exactly what people are searching for, like really long tail, Google keywords. I wouldn't aim for queries where Google itself is going to have documentation on it or MDN or something like that, because it's hard to really get on the first page of Google. And if you're not on the first page on Google, you're probably not going to get a lot of traffic from Google. Well, Google is a big, driver. But another approach is to just be personality driven. One of the people that I think is doing a very, very good job of this is the coder, Jessica Chan. She is very, very good at just being likable and interesting and having kind of a very helpful, supportive personality for teaching. I'm sorry, I need to grab a glass of water. I'm about to cough. Just 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. Do what you got to do. We're live, people, in case there was any doubt. These sessions are not pre-recorded. We are doing this live right in front of you. And yeah, shout out to Jessica Chan, the coder. I had her on one of our Twitter Spaces sessions a couple weeks ago. It's really cool to pick her brain about her YouTube channel and all the cool stuff that she's doing. Which, speaking of which, if you all aren't familiar, we do Twitter Spaces every Thursday at 3 p.m. UTC, same time that these events start. And we'll be doing one this Thursday with Q&A for attendees of the boot camp. So hope to see you there. All right, Quincy, we're back. Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I got my water. So a couple other examples of people who are really good at this. Florin Pop has a kind of a persona. He does these crazy challenges. And also, Cattle and Pit, really, really kind of steady presence. So that personality-driven approach, over time, you can just build up kind of a reputation as being somebody who's very helpful. And then when you tweet things, and definitely I would recommend everybody get a Twitter account. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, get a LinkedIn account. Anything that you can do to be easier to find online. And when you're tweeting out your article, and other people are tweeting out your article, those are technically backlinks to your article too that help you long-term search. And it may not take that many backlinks to get you on the first page for like a more long tail type Google query. So um, I think that there's the personality driven approach, and then there's just like the micro targeting, long tail queries and writing about things. And then you never know what's going to blow up if you write it yourself. Like I said, that USB thing, like I had no expectation that people were going to read it. So I've written so many articles over the years that have been like, oh, I encountered this problem. Maybe you encountered it too. I guess nobody else encountered it because it gets like very few views. But in many respects, like just having a single hit, so to speak, a single article that breaks out for you can really be the game changer that causes more people to follow you on Twitter, more people to recognize who you are. Once people recognize who you are, they're much more likely to like click through and read, oh, I know this person. Your reputation precedes you.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. That's definitely been my approach. Again, as somebody who is not an expert in any of this stuff, I found that people are excited to read the stuff that I write because they like me and they like my personality, right? So I think that is a solid strategy. I Wow, I can't believe we're almost to the top of the hour already. This has gone by so quickly. Um, before we wrap up, we do have some questions in the Q&A tab. Which, by the way, folks, if you haven't seen that Q&A tab, that would be the best place to ask questions for any of our speakers along the way. We do need to make time for our friend Edi Diong here at the top of the hour, but before we do that, I would love to at least cover one or two of these questions real quick. Um, First off, I see a few people asking if these sessions are recorded. The answer is yes. They are being recorded and they will be posted on YouTube as soon as possible. So if you happen to miss anything, don't worry. There will be recordings. Um, let's take a look at some of the other questions here. Um, Okay, this is a good question. Yeah, along the idea of the packaging of a post, do you have any advice for coming up with catchy titles or making an interesting banner for a post?
Yeah, I find explicit to be better than trying to be clever. I as far as like thumbnails and things like that, like the image, you have to think about it. Okay, from the perspective of somebody scrolling through it on their phone. I always think of it like they're on the subway and they're holding, and they've got one finger free to scroll, the thumb, and they're just scrolling through the Twitter newsfeed or Facebook or wherever. And you should probably be posting on all those different places, unless you're ideologically opposed to like Facebook, which I totally understand, not posting on there. But if you have a Facebook account, you can use a tool like Buffer, and you can publish on, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is great, actually. Free Code Camp, we get a tremendous amount of our readership from LinkedIn, actually. So what you can do is just make sure that like the thumbnail jives with the title, and that they basically reinforce one another. Like that, and make sure any words you use are large. If you want to put a picture of yourself in the thumbnail, this goes for like YouTube and for writing articles on Hashnode. You want to associate your personality and have people see your face. Like if you notice, I use the same profile photo everywhere, right? Like I don't use different angles or anything like that. I use the same thing because it's important that people like recognize. Oh, it's that guy, the Free Code Camp guy. Like I'm fine if you don't know my name. I'm fine. Like if you just have like a quick impression of me, oh, it's that guy. I've read one of his articles before. That's all I'm asking, right? That's all I hope to achieve. So, yeah, I think that just keeping it simple, keeping the text as large as possible, just assuming that people are looking at this very tiny screen and it's just flying by as they scroll.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I've found that my articles are a lot more successful if I slap a big picture of my face on the top. And I'm sure that's kind of intimidating for some people. You don't necessarily want to put your face out there, but I could say that if you do it, you will get more clicks. So I think it's a winning approach. Here's another question. what is the recommended length of an article to maximize its success? What do you think about
Yeah, my humble advice would just be as long as it needs to be, no longer. But at the same time, like some of the top articles on Free Code Camp publication, which this is apples and oranges, because we have like a giant, infrastructure for blasting these out. We've got an editorial team, all this stuff. But we publish full length books on Free Code Camp as well. So it could be that writing like an extremely in depth article on like Java Enterprise Edition for beginners or something like that. Maybe that is the way to go, and it's going to be 10,000, 50,000 words, 100,000 words. I mean, it just depends on the scope of what you're undertaking. But if you're just trying to teach, like I would never include like filler. I wouldn't pad it out. Like you'll hear some SEO advice like, oh, if your page has less than 500 words on it, it's considered thin content by Google or whatever. That doesn't seem to be the case. Some of the top performing articles on Free Code Camp's publication are just a few hundred words.
Interesting. That's good to know. Yeah, I've definitely come across that advice that, yeah, like maybe it needs to be at least 2,000 words, or some will say like 3,000 to 5,000 words. But my experience has been that if your content is solid, the SEO will follow more or less pretty naturally.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, yeah, gosh, I can't believe we're already at 3:03 UTC. We should probably wrap things up and move on to our friend Etigio. But Quincy, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, and be sure everybody to stay for Dion. Not only does she have one of the coolest names in tech, but she's like really chill. I've enjoyed talking to her over the years, and I'm gonna tune in and see what she has to say too. Thank you again, Sam. Congratulations on your rapid ascent in the developer space. Like, it's a real Cinderella story. And thank you for the thoughtful questions. And thank you everybody for tuning in. My humble advice again: just keep writing, keep the faith, keep grinding. People who stick with it, like that's the number one success factor. Is just persistence. And you're going to get some positive reinforcement. You're also going to get crickets. I get crickets when I publish articles. Nobody cares. That still happens to me too. So, as Babe Ruth, if you're a fan of American baseball, every strike brings me closer to my next home run.
I love that. Beautiful. Quincy, thank you so much. This has been a dream.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, cool. In terms of logistics, we are going to end this session right now, and we're going to come back momentarily with the next session from Didi. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you on the other side in just a minute here.